It's a late night when I walk in the pitch studio. Something seems amiss. Like someone's been here. The neon pitch sign is flickering even more than usual. My acai bowl's missing from the mini fridge. And there's a floppy disk labeled case file on the desk.
What is this?
I pop it in my Mac Mini and press play.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, I'm Jim.
Nice to meet you. I'm Erica.
Erica,
nice
pleasure.
to meet you.
This is a pitch? On my show? What is this?
Hi, I'm Jim Brown, founder and CEO of Uncovered. And we're bringing together the most passionate true crime enthusiasts to help solve real-world cold cases.
Cold cases?
You could be the murderer and putting in misinformation. I would if I was the murderer.
Jillian!
No, I'm not a murderer.
All of a sudden, everything shuts off. The neon sign, the mini fridge, my Mac Mini. And when it reboots, there's a message on the monitor.
Can a media company produce venture-scale returns by solving murders? Guess we'll find out. I'm Josh Muccio, and this is The Pitch, where real entrepreneurs solve real cold cases for real money.
Hi, I'm Erica Wenger, and I'm general partner of Park Rangers Capital.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Yin, general partner at Hustle Fund.
Hi, I'm Jillian Manus, managing partner of Structured Capital.
Hi, I'm Charles Hudson, managing partner of Precursor Ventures.
Hi, I'm Martin Tobias with Incisive Ventures.
The pitch for Uncovered is coming up after this.
Hi, I'm Jim Brown, founder and CEO of Uncovered. And we're bringing together the most passionate true crime enthusiasts to help solve real-world cold cases. Let me ask you a question. Who's the person in your life that won't shut up about the latest true crime podcast or Netflix documentary they've been binging? Did you know that if you're murdered in this country, there's only a 57% chance that your killer is found? And if you're an indigenous woman, a person of color, or a member of the LGBTQ+ community, it's even worse. To date, we've built the world's largest public database of cold case information and tools that enable the massive true crime community to turn their interest into advocacy. And it's working. I can tell you all about the 175,000 people we had on our site last month, the 26,000 email subscribers, or the 200 paying customers. But last January, our community solved its first case, that of a North Texas man who'd been missing for 9 years. And later, in October, with new public information in a 62-year-old cold case, we petitioned a judge in Ohio to have a body exhumed and a bullet was found. That's the power of doing business for good. And that's why I'm here today, kicking off a $1.5 million seed round. Here's what I'd like to ask you to do now. Go to uncovered.com/cases. This is the most used feature on our site. It's a map of all of the cold cases that we have in our database, 49,000 cases.
Uncovered.com/cases?
/cases, yep.
Okay.
What we see everyone do, the user behavior is they immediately start zooming in on that map to their hometown or where they live, that kind of stuff. You can see the cases that are in your neighborhood.
So this is like crowd solving for cold cases.
It's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So, this is not meant to be a political statement at all, but law enforcement doesn't have the resources they need to solve present day crime, let alone cold cases. And so the cases that we work on are a minimum of 3 years old so that we don't get involved in an active investigation or interfere in it.
How does the community end up being able to help?
So the first thing is let's think about discovery of the case. What happens is you listen to one of these podcasts or you watch a documentary, and as soon as you've consumed that content, you then go to Google and you search for the victim's name because you want to learn more. So Uncovered is like the individual cases are coming up in the top rankings of Google for that. And we're driving people there. We've got a full narrative on the site. You've got a timeline of events so that you can see it. You can see a map that correlates to the events so you can see where they took place. So we ground all of that for you. And then we list out all the sources that we have. Okay. But then let's say you want more information on that case. And if new information comes out, the follow button was one of the first things that we created. And so now you can come to our site and follow a case. Then we launched our community contribution program. So this is where you see something about Jean-Benet Ramsey, and we don't have that on our site. You can add that information to our site very easily through a toolbar. We ask for the URL, and then we can put that into the case file.
But that also might be misinformation. So how do you know? You could be the murderer and putting in misinformation. I would if I was the murderer.
Misdirection.
Are you interested in true crime? Is this a thing that...
It's very weird, and it's a longer story. No, I'm not a murderer.
Well, I asked that question because killers do stay very close to the crime.
Sure, they always do.
They follow it. And so we do believe that the killers will come and become members of Uncovered, and we'll track their IPs, and we'll give that information to law enforcement to help solve these cases. But your original question, we do verify manually every piece of information. We try to.
Who's uploading these cold cases? Are you guys hooking up to something that the government provides, or are these like individuals of family members and friends that want to upload?
How do you get the data?
It's a combination of all. So the first level of our database is all publicly available information. So we've gathered information from news sources, from podcasts, from databases, things like that. We also have podcasters, all of the content creators that are constantly putting new information into our database as well. Because again, we hear these stories on the nightly news or in the podcast or in the documentaries, et cetera, but that's not all of the stories. Most of the stories aren't getting told. There's actually something known as missing white woman syndrome, where the media loves to cover attractive white women's missing cases. Gabby Petito was an example of this last fall, right?
Yes.
So that's a thing. So first level of the database is all publicly available information. Second level of the database starts to bring in law enforcement connection and family information. It's been very interesting, the reception that I've got from law enforcement. There are those that are more on the conservative side that see this as their data, their investigation. They told us to go pound sand. We don't want your help. Then there's those on the more progressive side that have said, hey, this might be the future of policing, and the way we're doing things isn't really working either. So maybe we help get out ahead of this and work with your community to teach them how to do it so that we can still prosecute a case if it comes to the court system.
You had mentioned you had quite a bit of traffic on your website, but only a couple hundred paid users. What's your monetization strategy? How are you going to make money on this?
So how we're making money today, we've got 3 revenue streams. The first one is we have programmatic ads on our website. Our second one is paid sponsorship of our newsletter. And then we have our paid membership. So that's what we have currently. There is a law enforcement play for this as we go into the future. There's 17,985 law enforcement agencies in America. So I'm like, hey, why don't you give us your data? We'll clean it, store it, and keep it updated, and then give you an API feed to go back. But then also give them almost like a CRM, if you will, to say, hey, public, we need your help on this case, or we have DNA in this case, or something along those lines.
So it sounds like your current model is mostly a media company.
Today,
and so with this money you're raising, what are the KPIs you hope to achieve in sort of 6-12 months?
So the first one does still start with the media company. That is the business model that provides the other things for us to go, right? The KPIs that we're looking at is absolutely growth of the traffic to the website. We expect that we're going to be able in the next 18 months get to over 10 million visitors a year to the site, and then growing that paid community. And I'm still going to leverage the newsletter because I think we can get that to well over 100,000, and because you can just sell that for more. But the paid community itself, I think we can get somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 paid members in the next 12 months on that.
Can you speak a little bit about the technology? How are you building that engine, that tech stack, in order to be able to solve these mysteries?
It's a fantastic question. And when we were first getting started with this, the idea was like, let's just gather all the data. And so we can start to find things that humans wouldn't necessarily be able to see in that data stack. To date, we have not built anything for that because we haven't found the use case for it. In order for me to invest the resources to build the tool to sell to them, there's got to be a customer on the other end of that.
So is it wrong to say this is more of kind of an entertainment, sort of amusement with some benefit to society rather than truly building like an AI engine that consumes all this data and able to analyze and create, some transparency into past crimes?
Front end, yes. Back end, no. Back end is exactly what I want to do, but we're not there yet.
When we come back, the media mystery continues. But first, as a media company ourselves, we must share a message from our sponsors. Welcome back to the True Crime Pitch. The case remains open, and the investors have some interrogating to do. Here's Erica.
I just have a quick question on, I don't know this, but
Sure.
If someone solves a cold case, is there some sort of like, I use the word referral because I'm in tech, bounty, whatever the word is, some payout for reward, thank you. But if there was this potential big payout, like I think a lot about like, like affiliate marketers and all that stuff, like if they could work really hard for this potential reward that they split with you guys, it'd maybe be a revenue stream for you all. It would maybe be worth someone paying for access to the community because they felt, oh, if I just solve one case over the next 5 years, I pay myself back and then some. Is that even a thing? Did I just come up with it?
It's yes and no. No, it's absolutely a thing.
Okay.
Not every case has a reward, but lots of them do. However, this community is not influenced by money. It's very much altruistic. We've tried to like offer that as a concept. It's just not something that they're interested in. They want the case solved. As I dug into it further, though, the percentage of those rewards that are actually ever paid out is abysmal. It's big carrots dangling, and they're never paid out for some stipulation that happens.
May I ask you what your revenue is today and what your burn rate is?
Yeah. So we, year to date, we've made $18,000. We made $13,000 all of last year. Burn rate is currently about $20,000 a month.
Where else does this audience hang out online for entertainment content? Like, what do you think is sort of their media universe?
Facebook and Reddit. There's a subreddit called R Unresolved Mysteries. It has 1.4 million members to it. And at any given time, there's 100,000 people online in that community. The other is Facebook. There's a Facebook group for almost every missing persons case or murdered case. But people have told us like they don't want to be in there for a couple of different reasons. One, you don't know who anybody is. You don't know the information they're bringing to the table. If you're on Facebook, they don't want to see pictures of their friends' kids and dogs and vacations and then a murdered person, right? It's just not something they want to do with that. That's where this community is spending their time. Then there's Netflix, there's the podcast, there's all of that.
True crime is a huge category.
It's the number one category of entertainment.
Yeah.
What are people paying you for that they can't get elsewhere? So whenever I hear like number one content bucket, I think, okay, they can consume it as a podcast. They can consume it in Netflix. They can consume it on a newsletter or whatever. What are you pay? Like, what's enough for someone to come and pay you money?
So the thing that people pay us money for is the community itself, access to being together.
So is that 200 people or is that more people that are in that community?
So all of the tools on our website, if you want to help contribute to a case, research case, bookmark cases, get case updates, it's all completely free. If you want to connect to the community and bring in the guest speakers and things like that, that's what you're paying for, which is $11 a month or $97 a year. This is an interesting community because I can tell you all about our target audience. It is women 25 to 45. They have their own events called like Wine and Crime. I literally had a lady said,
This is so disturbing. But good, but bad, but good, but bad.
I had this lady tell me, she's like, me and my girlfriends literally just did a staycation. We rented a hotel room, bought a couple bottles of wine, and just watched true crime documentaries all night.
Okay.
It's a thing, yeah. But those groups of women are not actually that often together. And you don't just go to work and talk about crime and like murder and death or with your spouse, right? So they seek people that are like them that doesn't make them seem weird or strange. So that's one of the reasons why they do come together on the site.
I love it.
I think it's very impressive that you've built this site to 26,000 subscribers and you have people paying you paid memberships. I think, my background is in ads and media companies. And one of the things that I have learned in building these two companies is that there's often so many things to do. There's selling ads, you're selling memberships, now you're talking about selling API access potentially. And it is often really hard to get growth and do all of these things with a small team. I have felt that personally. And I think that the crux actually in building a successful media business is around focusing on just one or two things. But just given all that is going on in the business, I think for me, I'm going to sit out. I know that you will just need so much focus in order to get to the next level.
I totally appreciate it.
I understand what you're building. I understand the stage that you're doing it, and I understand the way that you're doing it. You're trying to, get the community going now, and you're monetizing it the way that you can. Unfortunately, I invest in B2B software companies, and I like to see traction on that B2B type of thing. So I would love to hear when you have more of that kind of traction, and this round's not a fit for me, so I'm out.
Absolutely. Totally appreciate that.
Just in thinking about some of the things that Erica brought up too, I think it's really clear to me that there's a big audience for true crime, and Jillian has mentioned too that there might be some issues with that. I just think in every business there's an easy way and a hard way, and I think just listening to you talk about this category, I'm like, podcast seems like an easy way to an easy way to grow here. Pretty cheap to build, lots of ways to distribute, pretty well established advertising and monetization regime around those. And I guess what I keep coming back to is like, I'm not sure that there's a straightforward way to monetize a more community-oriented approach here. So I'm out on this one more just because relative to the other things that are happening in the true crime sort of community, this one just feels like a hard way to build a big business.
I appreciate that, Charles. I really do.
I think for me, when you said they were not influenced by money, that was something that was kind of like, yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm missing. I talk a lot about community-led growth. I love community building. That's like my whole thing. And I think ultimately like that community has to be excited about money in some way. Otherwise, I go to nonprofit. I go to working with government. I go to you being an amazing, brilliant content creator and having your own business as yourself versus like a venture scale business. So for me, I'm out. I believe in community-led growth as a way to build a business, but I'm just struggling with this exact audience.
I totally appreciate it.
It's a crime that this is happening, that so many of these murders are not solved. And
5,000 more every single year go unsolved.
It's just sad. Personally, I like investing in big tech, something that you could really build an engine to solve these problems. And the other thought is, it might be good to do a crowdfunding for your company with this frenetic community of true crime lovers. I think that's a terrible, it's like
it's real, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I'm out.
I appreciate that greatly.
Yeah. Thank
you
you
all.
so much.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you're building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I loved your idea of maybe making this into some sort of AI detective
For
or whatever
sure.
to because if you've got all this data, an
Yes.
AI or something could surface connections
Correct.
and potential leads that humans would find hard to by analyzing all the data.
Absolutely. I mean, we
and
talk
people
about-
would pay for that.
Absolutely. I think that this is, a data play. We're all talking about AI. This is a very interesting application for that.
Yeah, we were
I've met him
talking
before,
behind on
Did
what would
you?
fix his pitch, and we thought if he never said media, and if he inserted a bit more B2B SaaS and some AI,
So everything.
Well, I think I think the
Clever
issue
it
is he has too many audiences.
He has too many audiences.
Yes.
Like there's the audience of people who are lurking for entertainment. There's the
Yeah.
audience of people who actually want to have these crimes solved because their loved one was murdered. There's the law enforcement, and are we trying to sell them a new tool?
Yeah.
There are too many audiences and there are too many things happening. I feel like any one of those has a business in it, but when you try to do all the businesses, then you
Don't
do
really
any of
struggle.
them.
this
Yeah.
is
Then you
this
do
is one where
nothing.
you're waiting for the pivot because there could
And
be
you're
something
being
interesting
you're being
here.
asked
Well-
to fund an interim business
Yeah.
model towards
Yes.
the pivot,
That's
which
the
is
issue.
just too hard.
That's
an
an interim
issue.
business.
He wants to fund the media company, which doesn't have that venture return, to be able to pivot into one of these other things that doesn't yet have clear direction.
Way to
Yeah.
do it.
But that was fun in
Yeah.
a weird, twisty way.
The case may be closed for these investors, but we still have some questions of our own for Jim. Like, what exactly happened with that exhumed body? Listen to our conversation after the show on episode 118 of the Pitch Podcast. I'll see you next week on The Pitch Show.